Hello, hello, good morning. Happy Friday, July 25th, 2025. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, or TMI Show for short, because we obviously bring you way too much information. We're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, so please be sure to like and follow this show. Big shout out to all the YouTubers out there watching out in YouTube land. We are very close to hitting the monetization number, so please continue to help support us there. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does a world of good for this little show. For as long as we'll be able to be on YouTube, Ted, I'm going to caveat that because YouTube is flushing out tens of thousands of channels that they deem inappropriate. So if you like us on YouTube, you'll like us on Rumble too, I hope, because at least we're safe there. So, well, I mean, truly.
Yeah. I mean, look, we don't do propaganda, but we didn't do propaganda before, and it didn't really help.
Well, the YouTube censors are, the alphabet people. And by that, I literally mean the company Alphabet. We don't mean that in the derogatory sense of...
No, we have no problems with letters A through Z. You guys are fine.
That's right. Or, people think that's like the rainbow flag. It's because of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle called it the alphabet people. And what he was referring to was the LGBTQAI plus
LMNOP.
community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the letters. But yeah, the YouTube, if you guys haven't heard, YouTube has been canning all kinds of indie channels, saying that they are propaganda outlets for... Name any country that is a supposed U.S. Adversary. It could be Iran. It could be Russia. It could be China. It could be Papua New Guinea. I don't know. I don't know who's on the hate list, the frenemies list. Ted, I can't keep up with the Americans who they deem as a threat. So, it could be the McDonald Islands.
It could be.
Could be. I don't know. So if you guys are enjoying the show, you can't. If you guys are enjoying the show, please head over onto Rumble as well, because at least there, you can watch wherever you want. But if we go away, please know you can find us on Rumble, because that is the home base for the TMI show. So on today's show, we're going to zip through this Friday. But Ted, I got to say, with the death of Hulk Hogan yesterday, that marks the third celebrity death just this week. And obviously Gen Xers,
maybe especially fourth, you got to count. You have to count Chuck Mangione.
Chuck four, yeah. But specific to like the Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Specific to Gen Xers, Hulk Hogan, Theo Huxtable, Malcolm Jamal Warner, and Ozzy Osbourne. Ted, I am a superstitious person, and I do believe, not majorly, but I feel like the celebrity rule of threes death is a real thing.
I know, like, it's dumb, but it does seem to be true.
Yeah, like maybe it's 3 or more. So it's like a minimum of 3. So wow,
I have not found that to be true. I mean, although the thing is, it's sort of like maybe there's some celebrity who he comes into the newsroom like, oh, so-and-so died, and then we just don't hear about it because they don't want to like ruin the 3 thing.
Yeah, I know there was like a soap opera actress who died in the last week also, but I wasn't a soaps watcher.
Anyone famous?
She was on there for like 40 years.
It wasn't Susan Lucci, was it?
No. It wasn't Susan Lucci. It was, I don't know, Young and the Restless Star. I never watched that.
Yeah, that was not okay. I have to admit, I used to watch soaps in college, and
there wasn't a lot of TV on.
Yeah, that's true. And during the daytime, what else was there, right? So I didn't. But The Young and the Restless was definitely a terrible soap.
Yeah, I think All My Children I watched here and there,
was a good one.
And as a kid,
that's the best one.
Everybody watched Dallas. in the 80s. Like,
well, that's not a daytime soap. That's a
but it's a soap.
time
It's still
show
soapy.
that is basically a soap. No question.
It's soapy for sure. But yeah, there have been actually a lot of celebrity deaths this past week, but the big names were those three. Hulk Hogan added to that. Unbelievable.
By the way, I should point out that producer Robbie West and I did a Hulk Hogan RIP for Rumble Premium.
Oh, from last night.
Yesterday. We went into great detail. So if you are interested, please check it out. You have to be a subscriber to Rumble Premium in order to see it.
That is a premium episode, but RIP for real. And Ozzy Osbourne and Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo Huxtable in, and that show, people didn't give that show much the credit I think it deserves for breaking stereotypes. And the Theo Huxtable character graduating from NYU, I think on the very last episode, I can't remember, but yeah, big blow to Gen Xers. These are faces we grew up with, and they're gone now. 71's not very old.
Yeah. What did the Cosby dude die of?
Theo Huxtable drowned, remember, in Costa Rica.
Oh God,
his autopsy came out, and eyewitnesses say that he was swimming with his little 8-year-old daughter at the time, and so she was there.
The 8-year-old made it, though.
The 8-year-old made it.
Well, that's good.
I know, but can you imagine the trauma that girl will have for the rest of her life, like seeing her dad drown?
Yeah. Well, hey, the psychologists of the future need to get paid too.
Very sad. Anyway, a lot of news to get to today. The big news breaking last night was that France is going to recognize Palestine officially as a state. It's going to be the first country of the G7 to do so. So breaking protocol, I guess, if you want to call it that. We'll talk about that first up. We'll talk about President Trump's executive order, basically saying no more homelessness. We'll get into some of those details. We'll talk about Thailand and Cambodia at the brink of war. F-16s have been scrambled by the Thai. It's not looking too good, Ted. That's all I got to say. Not looking very good. But you know what? On the other hand, if India and Pakistan could exchange this volley and, airstrike each other and whatever, major bombs across the borders, they're both nuclear powers. It didn't escalate, but could this be the same thing? I don't know. There's some similarities. I don't know. And last but not least, we're gonna talk a little bit about the largest trial of 4-day work weeks in America came to an end this week, and the results are in. And we're gonna tell you what that is. I'm not giving that away because
I don't think the results were surprising. I'm just going to say that.
No, not surprising. Not to me. Anyway, not to you.
No.
So if you don't know what that was, stick around to the end because we'll tell you what those results reveal.
You will want to tell your boss.
You will want this.
Yeah, you want these results.
If you're at work and able to watch us, how bad can your job be?
Well, I don't know, Manila, if you saw the huge... there's a hilarious, I don't know if X still has this Twitter feed called The Times is on it. And it's basically pieces that the news stories that the New York Times gets to, ages after everyone else has already read it, covered it, processed it, moved on. The Times is on it. So the Times in that category, the Times did a piece so there's this medium called podcasts. And they're very popular. A lot of people watch them. And anyway, so it was silly, but there is something to be gained from these stories by legacy media where they examine something that we all take for granted with fresh eyes, and or maybe not fresh eyes, but outsider eyes. And they've said that they found this. There's a study: 3 out of 4 people who watch podcasts don't actually watch them. They have them. The vast majority of people watching us here are. They have us on background at work, like in a back screen while they're working. Appear to be working. They have their headphones on. They're listening to us, and then they, and then they can if they are curious about a facial expression every now and then, they'll pipe in and peep over.
They'll pop in.
But people aren't really just staring like a cat at a mouse door, intently for the entire time, or to any podcast. It's like a lot of people also have them on their Bluetooth speakers, while they're cleaning the house or whatever.
Yeah.
And also the other real takeaway is very few people are really on audio anymore, even though it's a podcast. People are on YouTube and Rumble. That's where they are. And they're not really, and they can, if they want the audio.
Joe Rogan changed that.
They can just play the audio. I mean, it's kind of a waste of bandwidth if you think about it. Because
I know. Joe Rogan really changed that.
It must really drive. Well, you know who the pioneer was Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh had a live cam in his studio, and I remember just wondering, like, why is this interesting? But
right, I didn't understand.
Yet it is.
I agree. I mean, Rush might have started that, but Rogan really popularized it across the mainstream, or alt mainstream now. I guess we can call it that. But yeah, people at first, I liked listening to Rogan, but watching, I didn't understand why people wanted to like.
Why do you want to watch? Yeah, why do you want to watch radio? He's just talking.
Yeah, he's just talking into a microphone and talking to another dude or woman, whoever.
And you know what's so funny about this? This goes completely. I mean, we have a strict hour time limit here today, so we have to get to the news quickly. But so I'm violating my own rule. But what's fascinating here is, I don't know if you've ever heard this. I bet you have. So like, if you have a problem with like someone you're close to, let's say a romantic partner or your kid or your parent, they say that you don't want to look at them straight in the face, because you'll see facial expressions and stuff that will irritate you. And you'll be in a better position to listen to each other in the car or walking side by side. So you're with each other, you don't look at each other's faces, and you can hear each other. And I think if you think about some of the better conversations you've had, might have been on a road trip, that kind of thing. And that's
on
true.
The phone, back when people used to talk on the phone.
But that's like you're not even side by side. You don't have a physical presence on the phone. But like so it's really weird that in the context of a podcast, listeners would sometimes want to see you. But in the context of
like glance
in your
over
personal life, you're like, I've seen enough of my wife or my husband. Like, better to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like when you're driving, you're just talking, and then you kind of look over occasionally. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, you're right. It's kind of the same thing. Now that you
so I guess you glance over now and again. Anyway, all right. With that, let's get over to all of these different topics and send you off on this happy Friday.
Because we're gonna record a Rumble Premium Edition after this, so we have to.
Yeah, we have to decide on a topic too. All right, let's jaws it.
So, as you said, Manila, President Macron of France announced late yesterday that France will recognize Palestine as a state. He says this is part of what he called the historical French commitment to a just and durable peace in the Middle East. In a surprise announcement on X, and he had previewed that he was probably going to do this. He said he would make a formal announcement to the UN General Assembly this September. Should be pointed out that France is the only G7 member and only permanent member of the UN Security Council. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not the only permanent member, but a member of the permanent member of the UN Security Council to do so. Today, the most important thing is that the war in Gaza cease and that the civilian population be helped, he said. Of course, Manila, you've seen these pictures of starving babies that have really, they've landed in a way that previous photos of devastation in Gaza have not. It looks like Somalia, and basically 5 miles away, people are eating hummus and drinking tea, and they're dying. This is a Israeli-made, man-made famine. The BBC issued a statement that its journalists have begun literally starving to death in the Gaza Strip.
I've heard that too, from NBC.
We also have these are doctors, surgeons at the hospitals that remain that are still working in Gaza are also starving to death and have literally collapsed and started to die mid-surgery in the Gaza Strip. So this is this has been an ongoing humanitarian catastrophe for well over a year and a half. And before that, obviously, there were lots of problems as well. but the Israelis have done everything possible to really accelerate the genocide against the Palestinian people. So I think the timing of this, with those photos, coupled with the fact that there was a meeting that was supposed to take place that ended up that it's going to be watered down or not happen at all, that France was going to be part of. I think Macron's trying to grab the initiative here. Anyway, this is likely, of course, to really piss off the Trump administration. There's already been some statements to that effect. I wanted to point out, Manila, some of the countries that already do recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. Most countries in the global south, 147 countries out of 193 UN member states recognize Palestine. So it's really pretty much every country in the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The only real rich, notable countries that don't are the US, Canada, Germany, Japan. Yeah, Germany and Japan, what did they have in common? Oh, right, they were fascist countries, that's right. And the UK, which basically all say that they won't recognize Palestine. So France now joins other rich countries that already do it. Saudi Arabia, not surprising there. Russia, China, the two biggest countries in the world. Turkey, Spain, Sweden, Norway, and Ireland already do that. So I guess I missed the news that Spain had joined the club. So Manila, I've been arguing online with my friends about this. I think this is a BFD, and they're like they don't think it's a big deal. Here's my argument for why I think it's a game changer. First of all, France has a legacy. France, until about 100 years ago, was the most important country diplomatically in the world. French was the international language of diplomacy. If you were a diplomat from any country in the world, you had to be fluent in French. And when you met your adversary or your counterpart at a diplomatic conference, like, say, the Treaty of Versailles, which happened in France, which redrew all the map of the world in 1919, you had all those negotiations were in French.
Right. All these Geneva Accords, they speak French mostly in Switzerland. So
correct. And so the legacy in the world of, so France is obviously not the kind of massive power that it was 100 years ago, when it had the world's largest navy, for example. But it is still, that legacy has incredible symbolic resonance. The French are considered very careful. And when the French say, okay, we're going to recognize a new country, whether it be Palestine or South Sudan, it carries a lot of weight in the diplomatic community. So what this is going to do is it's now going to give cover in other countries for people who want to do this, to say, I can do this. I'm not going to catch a lot of heat. This is a very popular decision in France. 80% of the public is in favor of it. And it's long overdue, obviously. And you could argue, okay, well, it's been flattened to rubble. 300,000 Palestinians are dead in Gaza. The Israelis are doing whatever they want. Sure. But so right now, Israel's popularity and approval rating has never been as low as it is today globally. It's never going to be this high again. It's just going to keep going down. France, it's now, as we wrote in the headline for today's episode, it's literally going to be the U.S. and Israel against the world. Mark my words, the U.K. will probably be last, but I bet Canada will follow suit and do the right thing and recognize Palestine as a state. It's U.S. and Israel are going to be alone here. And you could say, like, it comes way too late for many Palestinians, and that's true. Many more Palestinians are still going to die. I'm not saying it's all over, but I'm saying this is the very beginning of a process that leads to the end. Israel being cut off, turned into a pariah state, the likes of which even apartheid-era South Africa could not even recognize. They're going to be completely alone.
That would be the right thing to do.
No one's going to talk to them. They're going to be done, finished. And then the question for the U.S. will be, how long do we want to keep letting them suckling on our taxpayer teat? And I don't know the answer to that, but that depends on domestic politics. But even in the U.S., now for the first time, more people side with Palestine than Israel in the U.S. So if you get a real liberal Democrat ever again, we haven't seen one since in the White House since LBJ, and he wasn't even that liberal.
No.
You know, I mean, I think you have to go back to FDR. If we ever see one again, you know, I think that'll be the end.
Yeah. However, I don't necessarily believe, not that I don't agree that it should happen, but I don't believe that it will happen, that there'll be a complete pariah state, only because of the strength of the Mossad agents all sprinkled all around all these major countries, and the level of spy intel that they have on so many of the decision makers in these major countries, like Germany, like Canada. God, I could only imagine what Mossad had on Trudeau, but Trudeau's out of office now. So, you know, Mark Carney, he looks pretty boring.
Yeah, and you know that keeps you safe.
I think he's
it must
like
really drive. It must
nerd
really,
guy.
you know, it must really drive intel agencies crazy when they decide to target some foreign leader, and they're like, "All right, what do we do? Oh, the guy only has sex with his wife, and
he goes home for dinner every night,
and not in a perverted way. Doesn't even want anal. You know, just
right. They just have regular missionary sex.
He doesn't smoke anything or take any drugs. He's partial to a glass of wine with dinner. Doesn't like porn. You know,
right. He's the boring. I feel like, well, that's my perception of Mark Carney. I could be wrong, but I feel like, I mean, because oftentimes you hear of the guys that seem the most straight-laced and dorky are the freaky deaky ones.
Oh yeah, like would you be surprised if you found out that Speaker Johnson was a mad
into bondage?
Yeah, totally. Well, you know,
I could totally believe that.
He's like totally.
Oh, for sure, I could totally
taking big dildos up from behind, no question.
For sure, and don't forget, with Speaker Johnson, he adopted. There's like the strange story about him like quasi adopting this young black man, kind of like the Blind Side movie with. Do you not know that story?
Yeah,
kind of like with
now it's coming back.
Jogging something. Yeah, it's kind of like the Blind Side movie with Sandy Bullock, like quasi adoption. And the guy was saying, I don't know, that he's a grown man now, but he's a young black man. I don't know, maybe in high school or something. And I feel like there's something odd about that story that doesn't add up. And it was like
I have a friend who did something similar, and as far as I can tell, it's
trying
wholesome.
to become speaker.
I know someone who did something similar, and I think it's wholesome. But I think it's
Speaker Johnson's story.
Well, no, I know a dude who adopted a much younger young black man and lives with him, and I'm like, I mean, he's an adult, which is a little weird. And but on the other hand, I don't think there's anything going on, but it's strange.
But yeah. So, I mean, the whole point to saying that is just that I think Mossad is probably the intel, you know, the raunchiest and dirtiest of tricks probably come from them. And our CIA is probably second to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, bar none, though. I think it's Mossad.
Like, I don't think, for example, the Chinese, they don't roll that way. You know, they're more about they're about scooping it up. They're scraping it from the internet.
But we're talking like setups.
Yeah.
We're talking about
for blackmail and extortion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think because of the strength and capability of Mossad, I don't believe too many of the big countries will step up.
Has nothing to worry. Oh, well, I mean,
the whole wife.
Well, right now, so the speculation is that we're going to see, I think Italy is going to join, and also Portugal. And I know I know Luxembourg is small, but Luxembourg is going to join also. And look, it's going to happen. The floodgates are going to open. It's France.
Well, it's France when you have like okay, the cool girl. Okay. Yeah. If the cool girl does something at school, like, for example, not to toot my own horn, but I wasn't like mean girl, cool girl, but I just didn't give a shit. Imagine that, Ted. Even in high school, I just didn't give a shit. I just did march to my own drum or whatever.
Sure.
I used to have hair like down to my waist, right? Like this beautiful, dark, beautiful hair. And I went into high school that way. And then by sophomore year, due to a botched perm over the summer.
Botched perm will be the name of my new band.
It was the 90s, people. Band.
Yeah.
It was the 90s, okay?
Okay.
Due to a botched home permanent, I came into sophomore year of school with a very short, almost Winona Ryder level pixie cut.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gasp when everybody was coming in for their photos and people were like, oh my God, Manila, you cut off all your hair. Everyone was shocked at the first day of school because I was known for this long hair.
You should have sold that hair. You can sell that.
No, I couldn't. It was botched in the perm.
I know, you shouldn't have botched it.
Botched. So
anyway,
everybody was, long hair was in. It was the 90s. It was,
long
the early Friends era.
Long hair is always in if you're a heterosexual male. Every guy is always arguing with their wife or their girlfriend, let your hair grow longer. Everyone. I've never once, no, that's a test. If you're dating a guy and he says, oh, I prefer girls with like a pixie cut or a short cut, that guy likes to suck penises. He swallows sperm. He takes it from behind.
This is a Friday show.
He is not a straight man. I mean, all straight men, it's not even like 99, 44, 100%. It's 100.0% of all straight men. Taliban straight men, Russian straight men, Croat straight men, Zimbabwean straight men, Ohio straight men, all straight men.
The YouTube viewers and the Rumble viewers.
Only straight men. We don't want any replies. No, if you occasionally gobbled a penis, stay out of this discussion. If you're a girl, I don't want to hear from you at all. If you're a trans man, be quiet. Straight, normal,
straight men.
Cis, assigned at birth, only like girls sexually. Oh, and if you're asexual, you're like an ace. You know about that? That's called an ace. Don't only like long hair. Is this a must? Longer is better. That's all I'm saying.
Peter in the Rumble room. My hair now comes to past my arm.
If your hair goes, your hair is long, like.
But Ted, you're a Gen Xer. All Gen X men love Winona Ryder.
This is all across generational lines. This is boomer, silent,
Gen
millennial.
X loved Winona Ryder was the it girl.
Granted, there are no straight millennial men, but still, all millennial men have occasionally had sex with men. What?
Ted, Winona Ryder. She was the it girl of the 90s.
I had a mad crush on her, and I'm really jealous of my friends who had sex with her. But the point is, and I even had her when I was married on my every married. You know how every married couple has the list of
your hall pass,
free hall passes. She was on my permanent. She was a permanent member of my UN Security Council of hall passes. Anyway,
you laminated it.
She's had long hair too.
She has.
She's cute always. Cuter with long hair.
I mean,
just think how hot Annie Lennox would have been with long hair. She was hot without it. I can't imagine
her with long hair. I don't know.
No.
But I will say this, towards the whole Macron thing. So, although everybody was shocked that I came back to school with this short pixie cut, they didn't know it was a botched perm. But everyone was shocked. And then the next quarter, all the girls, not all, but many, many girls were sporting short cropped hair.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well-dressed nerd says all caps, and well-dressed nerd does not always agree with me. Says, you are correct.
Oh my God.
Peter says, I'm a boomer. I like women with hair. Any length is good. Well-dressed nerd says, short hair is hot, but long hair will always be sexier. Correct. Yeah, short hair can be very cute. And it's just not the same.
The whole point to that was just my example of saying that because
girls cut their hair short because it's a lot to deal with and it's easier to take care of. And it's cheaper. They don't pay as much as the hairdresser. You're not doing it for us. Just saying. And that's okay. It's just like your shoes. You guys are obsessed with shoes. No straight man cares about your shoes. Okay. Unless they're the only thing you're wearing and they're up by our ears. Otherwise, that's it.
Oh my God. This is such a Friday episode because we went from talking about Gaza to now high heels on,
They have
and
sex. They
legs
have
up
sex
at
in
your
Gaza,
ears.
not as much as they used to, but yeah, it's pretty hard when you
Anyway,
haven't eaten in a year and a half. All right,
that
so listen,
was my whole point to
we
this
should get
was just
going.
that Emmanuel Macron did it, so there's a
Well,
possibility that it will catch on. Because
so listen, as a French citizen, I want to just express thanks to the President of the Republic of France for
I actually do applaud him for this.
An act of bravery and being willing to take some shit from the Trump administration. You know, I'm not going to focus on the whole record writ large. All that matters is at a time like this, it's good to be French. I'm proud to be French. And
that's an amazing move.
Better late than never. And thank you very much, Monsieur le Président. Vive la France.
And Ted, if instead of a round of applause for him, if he is indeed into the slapping, I would offer him a slap, although I think he might prefer a slap from you.
I don't think that might be. I don't think he likes to be slapped. I think he's honestly, so? I think he's in an abusive relationship. That. Honestly, I think that he needs to be rescued from that evil witch.
Yeah, because of, she did groom him when he was 15.
Well, she beats him. So fuck her.
She groomed him starting at 15.
Send her to El Salvador. All right. President Trump signed an executive order. Fascinating. Yesterday, I'm really interested to know what you have to say about this. Calling on the states and cities to end what he called endemic vagrancy and forcibly arrest, and grab homeless people off the street, including drug addicts and those suffering from mental illness, into so-called treatment centers. No word whatsoever if there will actually be any such treatment centers, because they don't exist now. The order supposedly redirects federal funding to prioritize shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment. Yes, these are words, but shifting what? To what? On an average, more than 274,000 people sleep on the streets every night under Biden. Actually, Mr. President, it's currently about 770,000. I looked this up. It's at a record high. It's not really Trump's fault. It's capitalism's fault. Anyway, the overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs, have a mental health disorder, or both, the document says. We don't know that, but many do, certainly. The federal government and the states have spent tens of billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not its root causes, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety and threats. The root cause, Mr. President, is capitalism. Anyway, Trump has complained for years about homeless encampments among roads in D.C. and proposed reopening insane asylums to house the nation's most dangerous street people. It's not clear how much money would be steered to the new initiative or whether there would be an effort to reopen those shut down institutions as a new strategy. The order identifies something called assisted outpatient treatment as an option in addition to institutional treatment. States and cities that crack down on open illicit drug use and urban camping, loitering or squatting, and tracking sex offenders will be prioritized for the money. Tent cities have really upset Trump, and they sprung up during his first term. Between the Kennedy Center and the White House, which his motorcade travels by on its way to and from his golf course in Northern Virginia. Another rat-infested encampment lasted for years in McPherson Square. That's just north of the White House, where there used to be a lot of protests.
I used to live there.
Spooking passers-by who regularly spotted occupants staggering around, talking to themselves, and pissing on lampposts. Trump groused that the grim scenes in D.C. Were a bad look for visiting world leaders. Can't argue with him there. And D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's administration has since conducted whack-a-mole camp clearances in D.C. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 last year that cities can impose fines on homeless people who obviously are full of money and easily can pay them.
They can totally pay the fine.
And who camp without permission on public property. So, Manila, this is interesting because, I don't know if you know about this, but because this was before your time, you may have been a kid, but there was the Creedmoor Psychiatric Hospital scandal in the early 1970s. And basically, at these old school mental asylums, sort of like Cuckoo's Nest type places, it was discovered that people were being chained to beds and left there in their own piss and shit for like days, weeks, months at a time.
It's not isolated to them.
And also there were people who were like husbands, instead of getting a divorce, they were like, well, that's so expensive to pay alimony. I can just have my wife committed to an asylum. So they would do that. That happened in the 70s when I was a kid to my neighbor. She was lucky to get out. And happened all the time. She was a lovely woman. Anyway, the point is, these abuses came out in this documentary where this guy went in undercover into the Creedmoor. He had himself admitted to the Creedmoor Psychiatric Institution and then blew the whole thing up. He was a journalist.
He did some gonzo journalism.
He did gonzo style, and like he barely survived, actually. Anyway, the point is, so after Creedmoor, these old institutions fell into disrepute. A lot of them dated back to the Victorian era. It's part of the reason. I mean, Reagan gets attacked a lot by people like me for shutting down a lot of the insane asylums. But it was in his defense, a lot of it was because they had such a bad rep and they were so old and decrepit and there was so much violence. And then liberals started saying, like, look, homeless people, you can't just grab them off the streets. They have civil rights, even though they're homeless. You can't kidnap them and hold them against their will. And so now we have this like fucked up situation where people are sleeping and dying in freezing cold and blazing heat all over the country outside, and pissing and shitting outside, and losing their minds because they're sleeping outside, right? So it's just this, I mean, look, it is a result of capitalism. You don't see this in socialist countries, but like, the thing is, the question is what to do about it. I want to applaud President Trump for bringing attention to something that we don't normally talk about in this country. We pretty much don't care. We don't give two shits about the homeless, and it shows because, like, think about it. Neither Biden nor Kamala Harris, the so-called liberals in the presidential race last year, ever talked about homelessness.
Correct.
Biden didn't talk about it in 2020. Bill Clinton never talked about it in 1992. Nobody cares, right? So, and certainly Republicans don't care. They care even less. So, good for Trump for bringing it up. As with a lot of Trump is really good at diagnosing problems. He's like, you have a sickness. Your sickness is you have homeless people sleeping outside, and it's gross.
No, here's why you suck.
Yeah, you suck, period. And frankly, that is useful. What he's not good at is at cures and treating the problem. And this is an example here. I mean, look, you would need to dedicate billions of dollars to building these institutions and making them decent. They'd have to be new and decent with up-to-date 21st century treatment methods. In many cases, by the way, the best thing you can do for the homeless, and they should copy what's worked in some red cities like Houston and Dallas and Denver, where what they've done is they call it rehousing. They currently, in order to get into a shelter, you have to be drug and alcohol free. That doesn't work. So what does work is you say, just come in. We take you off the street. We give you a place to live.
Well, I'll beg to differ you on that point.
We treat you there. We treat you in situ. And then they've slashed their homeless populations by more than half in just a few years with these programs. It's not 100% effective, but it's better than like New York or LA or San Francisco has managed to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's, if I were President Trump, I would create a commission to explore how to handle this. I also think we need treatment centers, and we need, but you can't just sort of say, let's just drag them all off the street and send them somewhere. That's what he's doing with the homeless, with the migrants. Drag them off the street and send them somewhere where you don't even have. There's no capacity.
That's the part. So that's the part, right? Like, so I've said this a million times over. I up until very recent, like the last 2 or 3 years, I had a homeless family member who had addiction problems, and I'm not going to take the credit myself, like I did this solo, but there was help from the Salvation Army and other resources in Southern California. But me as a family member did everything I could, besides love and hope and prayers, right? Because that can only go so far. But there's some financial support on my end, a little bit of pushing and constant compassion. But that's me with one family member in SoCal. So I have been deeply invested into this world. My dad worked in mental health for 25 years. for a state, actually county. It was a county program. So I saw a lot of this myself growing up. So I've always had a special place in my heart for people out on the street. So I beg to differ on the numbers. The vast majority of the people who are on the streets, the vast majority of them have either mental health issues or drug issues or a combination of both. The vast majority. We're talking over 85%.
It seems to be true. It's just that the reason I took issue is that there's not really peer-reviewed studies that prove that. But like, I think it's pretty obvious.
There's enough. I've done reports on this myself professionally in my career. I've seen enough reports from various groups, organizations, government, census data. When you compare all the numbers, it seems legit to me that the vast majority, we're talking 85 to 88%. So basically, you're looking at roughly 9 out of 10 people who are homeless have either a drug problem or a mental health problem or a combination of the two. Very seldom are you going to find, people that are just down on their luck with their families or whatever out on the street, although that does happen, especially after the 2008 housing crash, where a lot of people never recovered, and then they were starting to recover, and then the COVID thing happened, and now we're back in a housing bubble again. So we're probably going to see more normies that are out on the street. There are also people that are out on the street that may not be accounted for, who are working people that don't have a home. They live in their car and they bathe at the gym or at the Y or at the rec center.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden homeless, right? There's a lot of couch surfers, like
right.
Hey, can I stay at stay at your friend's house, stay at your relative's house.
But as far as these people in tent cities, I mean, my family member was in a tent city. I physically, not that long ago, like I said, pulled this family member out of the streets, got this person clean, got this person help. This person in particular found God and cleaned up their ways. And now they're, after many years of my cajoling and pushing. So I know firsthand that this can work from my own experience dealing with my family member and the Salvation Army and other resources. Mind you, I'm on the other side of the country. But when I went to visit in California, I've been into the tent cities. I've been into, their tent, their living quarters. And I've spoken with the other encampment tent city locals. If they're sober enough, it's not that they want to be there. It's that there aren't enough resources. So Donald Trump, I get that he doesn't like stepping out of the White House and seeing the encampments at McPherson Square. I used to live at McPherson, so I know. I used to walk past that square regularly every day. So I know exactly what he's talking about. And I agree. He's pointing out the problem. He's making the diagnosis. But before you can arrive at a prognosis, what are you going to do to deploy money towards resources that work? The sad thing, like in California, for example, there are so many of these so-called resources, these 501c3s and whatever. There's so much mismanagement. There's so much money being raked in, and only pennies on the dollar are actually going towards solving the problem.
That's true. That's true about all of those kind of charities. I hate
so
charities.
Bullshit. I'm a big fan of the Salvation Army. I do, because like I said, I have firsthand experience dealing with them, with my family member. They do a really great job. And I don't think they're exploitative, and they're not, their workers aren't making six figures north of $300,000. Like, that's crazy when you look at some of these so-called charities and how they're being funded. So because of that, I would say we do need a federally funded program that is you need a czar for this, like a homelessness czar, like you have a border czar, right? Like, you're going to stick Tom Homan on the border. Who is going to be your homeless czar? Somebody needs to spearhead this.
But I got to say, frankly, there's more problematic homeless people than there are problematic migrants. And when there's 770,000 people sleeping outside, that's not even including the millions of hidden homeless.
The hidden homeless.
Bingo.
And then,
and frankly, there aren't 770,000 migrants who belong to Trinidad or who are raping children or anything.
Right.
Not even close, right?
Like injecting shit into their arms on the street. That's not happening.
10 or 20,000 you could get rid of, really.
Like, so the other thing, and shortly before, I mean, literally the quarter before RT America shut down, I was actually working on my next special series about the mental health crisis and how we don't have enough facilities and beds in this country and why we don't. And this was going to be a widespread thing. I was contacting, I had people in other countries that were giving me information about how their country deals with things. For example, I had contacts in Russia.
Yeah, they don't have
and
this
I asked,
problem.
They don't have this problem.
They do not have
because they have state-run institutions for homelessness and then they triage it once you get into
homelessness is illegal in Russia, and it goes back to the Soviet period.
But you'll freeze to death and die. So
that's true.
It's harsh up in Russia. So, but also all the schizophrenics that are there that are on the street, if you get reported and they notice that you're out there more than a couple of days, they will come scoop you up. They will take you to a facility outside, let's say, the city limits of Moscow. That's how they deal with it. They'll assess you for your mental health issues, give you meds if you need it or whatever. And they put you, on this basically like a 12-step program to get you cleaned up and become a normal, healthy member of society. So the U.S. lacks that. We across the United States, like you pointed out, under Ronald Reagan began to shut down all of our loony bins. And I say this in jest with a good heart.
So, because they were a shithole.
Well, yes, but also
but
you can't just get rid of it. There's nothing to replace it.
This is the American way, right? Like that's what Trump was doing with Doge. It's like that, that joke, like the restaurant's terrible, the food's awful, and such small servings. It's like you're getting rid of. Okay, government's not effective. It's not solving this problem. So let's get rid of this department entirely. Well,
right.
I mean, if you're complaining that what it was doing was
ineffective, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
That's the point.
Then you need to make it better, right?
Right. You need to fix it because this is a crucial need. If we have more than 1 million people who are homeless, I would say easily 2 million people, if you count the the car livers and the couch surfers.
Yeah.
Easily 2 million plus.
God, I mean,
this
LA
is a chronic problem.
There's those campers, RVs all over the place where people are
everywhere.
Living in them.
So the problem is you need to reopen these facilities for mental health. That's step number 1. And the mental health facilities can then suss out, are you mentally ill because you have fried your brain, a la Hunter Biden? Like if you heard the Hunter Biden 3-hour podcast interview he did, he sounds to me like smoking all that crack has really punched some holes in his brain, like permanently, like Swiss cheese. Except he's a rich kid. So he's not homeless and on the street. He has resources. But you can suss out the people that are, that have their own personal schizophrenia. Maybe they're born that way, or the people that have drug-fueled schizophrenia or whatever, other, mental health issues because they're drug-fueled. But you need those facilities, and we don't have them in the United States. I've literally grown up around this industry, for a lack of better words. So I have a deep understanding of how this works. Like I said, my dad was a 25-year social worker dealing with people with mental health issues, and many of them on the streets, many of them veterans, many of them war survivors. My dad's specialty was actually with Southeast Asian war survivors and refugees. So I understand the complexity of all of this, and it's an area that really hits close to home. The United States has a completely broken system where these are the people that are forgotten. Like you have the Democrats over here saying, oh, you're taking away their civil rights if you go scoop them up and put them in a facility. Okay, so leaving them under a bridge under the 405 freeway is better? Like that's more humane to keep their civil rights intact? Don't they have a civil right to having food, to having shelter, to not being raped on the streets, to not, So it's coming from both sides. It's a broken fundamental issue within our whole society about how we value life, and we don't value life in America. These are discarded people. I hate to imagine where my family member would be, because if I was the last man standing in terms of trying to help this person, and I kept pushing and pushing, and now they're off the street and a functioning member of society, and it took years. But I'm one person, and that's one family member. All of these other people have been cast out from society, cast out from their families. There's not enough resources. The resources that are there are bullshit. We do need a state. We need state-run mental institutions as well as drug rehab facilities.
And I'm going to say this is controversial. I mean, I think if it's assessed that you're a danger to yourself and to others, then yeah, you need to be forcibly committed. That's what forcible commitment is for. What I really care about is that these commitment facilities be extremely humane, extremely competent.
Yes, like no lobotomies, like the Kennedy daughter.
Right.
Or maybe don't do that.
Yeah, or Francis Farmer.
Maybe don't do that. We're not trying to do the girl.
Don't rape anyone.
Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder, Girl Interrupted, Ted. That's based on factual things.
And also, these people there should be like a team of legal advocates who advocate and protect for them. So these institutions need to be really strictly regulated and supervised.
And then and last thing I'll add to this, and I know we got to move on.
I just don't think this country is willing to do anything like that. Because,
correct. We don't
frankly,
care enough.
We just don't care about other human beings.
We don't care.
Yeah.
So last thing I'll say about this is, here in the state of Virginia, where I live now, when I was working towards this series that I was planning on releasing in like mid 2024, or excuse me, 2022, before RT America was shut down, what I learned about Virginia in particular, we used to have eight state-run institutions. And literally roughly 10 years ago, it got shut down to 4 in the entire state. So what this means is it's a shitty trickle-down theory of how resources get used. So let's say somebody calls the police because this homeless person is insane out front of their yard and doing God knows what and doing drugs and whatever. So you call the police, right? And let's say you're here in Fairfax County. You call the police. Fairfax sheriffs pull up, grab the person. They deem them, their social worker at the station deem this person to be mentally ill. They are required to send 2 officers to take this person, assess them at the station, and then 2 officers must transport.
Wait, so who does the assessment? Not social workers or the
There's
cops?
social workers and mental health. No. There's mental health professionals at the station will get called in. They assess them and they're like, okay, you're a wackadoo. You need to go to this facility. And you're on. Yes, that is the scientific term in their files. You're a wackadoo. We need to send you off to this facility.
Yeah.
Then then the Fairfax police or Fairfax sheriffs or whatever have to take 2 people at least. It's a requirement per their policy. They have to drive more than 2.5 hours in one direction to transport that one person, that one mentally ill homeless person, 2 hours in one direction at least. And then if you know Northern Virginia traffic, 2 hours out of the county into the facility, get them processed. So let's say that takes another hour there. Then you take another 2 hours to drive back if you're lucky. And then you got to do your paperwork at the station. So to transport the one homeless person, you're taking up 5 to 6 hours of policeman's day for the one person. So my point to this is the lack of facilities that, state-run facilities, the lack of ability to have any other place locally to take them. You are now creating a chain of events of how you're saying, oh, there's not enough police on the streets. There's not enough whatever. No one can respond in time. There's a lack of. So when you add that to people not wanting to become cops. You add that to a lack of pay. You add everything up. It becomes a shitstorm as to why America looks the way it looks, like what's on screen here, right? Why it looks this way because of all the bureaucracy that we've put in place, all in the supposed name of being humanitarian and protecting civil rights. Well, you've created this shitstorm of kids being stabbed in the parks when they're sliding down the slide and they land their little feet and get punctured by some heroin needle. It's just a shitstorm of stuff. And Trump has not, to me, I think it's a step in the right direction, but he has not issued a clear enough outline of what to do next. Like, fine, you can make homelessness illegal if you want. Even if we passed a law in Congress,
what he's doing.
Right. You can pass a law in Congress can say this is now illegal. Running a red light is also illegal. But people run red lights. Doing a California rolling stop is illegal, but everybody roll stops. So that doesn't help. It's what do you do? Drunk driving is illegal. What do you do? So,
well, I mean,
I think
with drunk driving,
good step.
It's viewed as a gotcha by local law enforcement to make tons of money and charging thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in fines, and it keeps the lawyer industrial complex going. I mean, we're not actually, if we were actually interested in stopping drunk driving, we would probably improve mass transit and we'd have a setup.
Like what the fuck is Mayor Bowser going to do?
Give us a
she's
call
gonna issue
and we'll come
tickets?
get you.
Mayor Bowser says she's going to issue fucking tickets to the homeless now? Like, okay.
Yeah,
Add that to my, put that on my tab, Mayor. Put that on my tab, Madam Mayor. Like, she's not doing anything. She recently cleared out the encampments. I mean, Gavin Newsom isn't doing much better because remember when the APEC, not APAC, APEC summit came to California a couple of years ago. Remember what he did? He cleared out all the homeless encampments because Xi Jinping was coming, and then he put up gates all up and down like the streets, and he just hid the homeless away. But after 2 weeks, they kind of got their way back onto the streets of San Francisco. But he wanted to clean up the streets before Xi Jinping came because San Francisco is a fucking utter dystopian mess. But he didn't want Xi Jinping to say that because you know why? Xi Jinping doesn't have that problem in Beijing.
No, he doesn't.
So there you go.
All right. Shall we? All right.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Okay. A long simmering border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia erupted into armed clashes yesterday that have killed at least 12 people on the Thai side of the border. Thai scrambled one F-16 plane to bomb targets in Cambodia on Thursday after artillery volleys in response to what it said was Cambodian artillery fire into Thailand. This border conflict goes back more than a century when Thailand was called Siam. But things have worsened since May when a Cambodian soldier got killed in a border clash. This issue has roiled Thai politics. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra was ousted earlier this month after a leaked phone call revealed that she was buttering up influential Cambodian politician Hun Sen and insulting her own country's military. And by the way, the military in Thailand has a very, very big role in domestic politics. They often, whenever things seem a little out of control in the civilian sector, the military will routinely overthrow the government and install a new one after a military coup.
So this looks bad on her part, but she's part of a political dynasty. She claims that leak, that was the Cambodian side was illegally taping her. She didn't know, but come on, Every time heads of state have phone calls for every country, including the United States, and we've established this, Ted, whenever Trump picks up the phone to talk to anybody, be it Xi Jinping, be it Vladimir Putin, be it Zelensky, it's always recorded, and there's at least 8 other people listening on
It has to be because
and
people might say, well, why? And the reason is, let's say, I, President Rall, call you Prime Minister Chan. And I'm like, okay, so we talk things out, and we're like, listen, we both decided to declare war on Robbie, and so we go to war tomorrow at 9:00, then we want that all on tape so that we all understand each other. So if there's any misunderstanding, and I'm like, listen, I went to war against Robbie and you weren't there, you didn't show up. And you're like, I didn't agree to any war. And I'm like, roll that tape.
I got the tapes.
Yeah.
Well, it's the threat of mutual destruction, right? So there's that. And which is also kind of why, like I said earlier, Pakistan and India didn't go further, because ironically, when you're talking with two nuclear armed states, it actually has the opposite effect of what America claims, having nukes does. Is like, for example, if Iran were to get it, like the argument, it actually, like, statistically speaking, like, it's better if foes have the same type of arms. In this case, Ted, I know a thing or two about Southeast Asian history.
Yes, you do. You have some ties to it also.
So this whole
is
issue
Laos just eating popcorn? Like,
yeah, Laos is just like, we had our... You
guys do you.
Laos, you guys, I'm wearing my Laos shirt now.
Nice.
Actually. So the Lao people have long had a similar dispute with Thailand, Ted. So I'm not going to say this is a trend, but I feel like a pattern is there. When your people,
is it the border? Who is it?
It's when your people,
the frogs drew some bad borders. Is that what happened?
Yes. It's when your people left in 1961. When they left Laos, when they left Cambodia, when they left, their Southeast Asian
and Vietnam
designs.
Shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Once they left, they their cartographers redrew maps again in Geneva.
As they do.
They just redraw the maps. And Thailand is claiming that the French drew the maps wrong. And mind you, this is like 1961. So Thailand is claiming that part of the water, like this body of water, this river, that's actually ours, and the Cambodians shouldn't have it. And the Cambodians were like,
is this the Mekong River, or is this the Siem Reap? Or is it something else?
One, I don't know. Different, I don't know. Different body of water.
Big ass lake there in West.
A lake.
Yeah.
So the
Siem Reap,
the Cambodians are like, bro, you agreed to this in Geneva in the early 60s. Let it be. Like, this is ours. Like, whether, they've debated about this for hundreds and hundreds of years. We're talking, 2,000 years worth of bad blood. And Laos was once part of the same kingdom in Siam and all of that. So when the borders were drawn, Laos had similar arguments with Thailand, because Thailand was like, oh, we're just going to go ahead and take these 6 other provinces, France. Like, so when you guys leave, can we go ahead and take? Yeah, cool. Thanks. Okay. So that's kind of what happened with Laos. So right now, Laos is just like, all right, fine.
So this is over
the Mekong River is divided.
That's
yours. This is ours.
This is over a temple as well as a river. So
right. It's that general
temple,
area.
The French, when they drew the map, put the temple and the area around it in Cambodia. And the Thais say that the text of the treaty doesn't match the map of the treaty. You know how those graphic artists are. And that they're trying to go by the text of the treaty and also the natural watershed boundaries. In other words, the Thais think it should follow the natural geographical boundary.
No, yeah, I know they want that. But the Khmers are saying, dude, this land around this temple, it is a Khmer temple that's like 2,000 years old. It's ours. So it's our land and the water that runs with it. That's our land right and our water right. So this is very similar to like the Chinese and Indian land dispute in the Himalayas, a similar thing. Except the problem here is they're not fighting with like sticks and stones. The Thais have started drone bombing Cambodia, and the Thais have just scrambled some F-16s this morning. So they are really escalating. And here's my beef with this, Ted, is that we know the United States was, they backed the failed campaign. I forget the guy's name because it's 37 letters long, but he's a young, charismatic guy running for prime minister, educated here in the U.S. at Harvard. He's Thai by blood, but grew up in Sydney, Australia. very complicated, but then educated in the US and whatever. So he was running. The US government really backed him. He was like a young leadership thing under Obama. I don't know. So the US really wanted to be involved in Thailand, and they sell F-16s to them and then whatever. Russia and China are very much deeply involved in Laos, and I reckon that Russia and China are gonna back Cambodia should this escalate, because it's a sphere of influence problem. Because Russia and China are on that continent and say the US needs to butt out. You're not in this, you don't live on this continent, butt out, get out of Thailand. So I feel like if this does escalate, we will see, I don't necessarily think intervention, but I think aid coming from China and Russia into Khmer military forces.
Yeah, those are historic ties. Thailand is not really America's ass boy. It's more of a neutral. It views itself as sort of a regional mini superpower. It
thinks, yeah, it does. They think really highly of themselves.
And well, I mean, they have one good reason to feel that way.
Because they corner the market in ladyboys.
Well, that, and also they're one of the few, and also throwing it to the chickens. We talked about that. They don't. The Thais are one of the few countries in the world that have never successfully been conquered and invaded and occupied. So, I mean, even the U.S. can't say that. True. I mean, the Brits burned the White House in 1812, right? So
that's true. The Thais did fend off the French.
I mean, the Thais are they have an interesting national temperament, right? They're basically like, we're Buddhist and like, hey, you take my seat, no problem, everything's chill. But we're also violent Thai kickboxers who kill our opponents in the ring. So
you know who first brought live ammo and sold them guns? You know who brought that in the 1800s? The Portuguese brought that to Thailand.
Yeah, people forget that Portugal was a massive empire.
Yeah, the Portuguese had some influence in Thailand, and the French obviously colonized Laos and Vietnam, and smaller, had some influence, I'll say, in Cambodia, but it wasn't a full-on colony like it was for Vietnam and Laos.
It was a vassal state, or
influence, as we'll say. But yeah, the Portuguese brought firearms into Thailand in the 1800s. So then they were like, "Oh, me likey," and they started making their own.
The Thai approach is kind of like, we don't start anything, but we finish it.
Yeah, so I don't like where this is going. We haven't seen an armed conflict in Southeast Asia since the Vietnam War and the secret war.
Nothing bad happened there.
Nothing. No. So
well, wait. I mean, technically speaking, that's not quite true. There's been
what's on screen.
There have been some minor wars since the Vietnam War.
Not minor, but I mean, serious warfare.
There was a border war between China and northern Vietnam in 1979 or 1980.
Look here. Royal Thai Army. That's the drones.
Don't forget the killing fields, Manila. Vietnam invaded Cambodia and overthrew the Khmer Rouge in, I think it was 1979. So that's after the Vietnam War. So there have
because we were friends with Pol Pot, then we hated Pol Pot, then we were friends. We Americans, we hated him, we loved him, we hated him again, and that's how he died.
If you're into history, Manila, got to tell you, the Philip Short biography of Pol Pot is one of the most amazing books I've ever read. He also wrote a book about Mao, not nearly as good. The Mao book is worth reading, but the Pol Pot book is like, holy shit. Because there's no one else ever treated him seriously other than just like bad man, killing fields. But this tells you like really where he came from, what he was all about, what exactly went down, why it went down, how it went down. It's so cool.
Oh, we're running way over.
We are. Let's keep going here. Okay.
Just staying in Asia.
The Chinese EU summit in Beijing was supposed to celebrate 50 years of bilateral ties between China and Europe, but the tensions were palpable. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, demanded real solutions to deepening imbalances, echoing other complaints by the Europeans that the Chinese flood EU markets with products, particularly EVs, that are too cheap because the Chinese state subsidizes their companies. President Xi replied, "The current challenges facing Europe do not come from China." A pointed suggestion that the two sides share an interest in closer ties. Who is President Xi saying might be responsible? Trump. So he's saying, your problems are coming from America. Leave us out of it. Dick beans.
Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
No. I do not. Certainly, EU has their challenges from Trump, and tariffs are part of them. But yeah, I mean, the Chinese are definitely producing a lot of cheap goods and dumping them in the EU market. So the solution there would be for Europe to compete by, supporting their own EV industry, and so that they can compete. I mean, honestly, EVs are the future, and countries who want to compete are going to have to throw some taxpayer money into the sector, especially for building the infrastructure of charging stations, which is the one obstacle that is really keeping people from buying them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what needs to happen there.
Well, and EVs need to, I don't know if the Chinese have solved this problem, but as Robbie has pointed out many times, is that he sees whenever Californians drive up with their Teslas in the winter, their Teslas get stuck,
they go 10 miles
because the batteries just drain out because it's cold.
EVs are really kind of not ready for prime time, right? So it's like, in the cold,
it works in SoCal, it works in New York, I guess.
In the heat, they catch fire. They don't go very far. It's like, well, if you go downhill to the post office, you'll probably be okay, but you might not be able to get home.
It's basically a glorified skateboard.
It is. Yeah.
Go downhill. Just then you got it.
I mean, electric bikes don't really work that well. I mean,
they start fires in New York City apartments
all the time.
So we're not there. That's why I drive a hybrid.
Most Americans agree with you. Hybrids are good. All right, and finally,
I think hybrids.
I like this story. Results from the biggest trial of 4-day work weeks ever have been published, revealing that the shorter schedule, without any pay cut, increases job satisfaction. That's not surprising. You work 4 days instead of 5, and you get the same amount of money. Reduces burnout and improves your well-being. Nearly 2,900 workers from 141 organizations in the U.S., Canada, the UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand shifted to 32-hour, 4-day work weeks for 6 months. Companies had 2 months to restructure workflows, largely by trimming unnecessary meetings. Good idea, always. Most meetings are stupid. People are just like bragging about trying to justify their jobs. They go, all right, what are you working on, Manila? I have to justify my job. Ted and I are trying to increase our SEO on the show. Okay, good job. What are you working on, Ted? I'm trying to make more fun of Donald Trump, show how fat he is. Okay, good job, Ted.
Yeah, the meetings are fucking
so pointless. Stupid. At the end of the study, employees reported improved performance, better sleep, and less fatigue. 90% of participating companies, this is the important part, decided to keep the shorter schedule, suggesting that output was pretty much the same and profits were the same. Although the study did not measure company-wide productivity, but the CEOs obviously didn't have a problem with it. While many Americans view the 5-day work week as standard, it actually only became common after the Fair Labor Standards Act passed by President Roosevelt in 1938. Interest in shorter work weeks has grown. I collect political buttons, Manila, and I still have a button from the early 20th century urging that we fight for the 12-hour work week to reduce from work day from the standard, which at the
I was like 12 hours a week.
The time was the average was 14 to 16 hours at the time.
Wow.
Interest in shorter work weeks has grown since COVID, and 22% of national survey respondents report that their employer offered 4-day work weeks last year, 22%, compared to 14% just 2 years earlier. So that's a huge increase, in percentage from 14 to 22.
Ted, if you see our lower thirds there, I put a new banner at the bottom. Make Thursday the new Friday.
Thursday.
That's right. It'll become
Thursday.
Thursday.
Go the other way. You could go Tuesday to Friday instead. Doesn't matter.
You could cancel Monday, so it could be Friday. No, you get Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and work Tuesday through Friday.
Some restaurants and museums do that. Restaurants do that sometimes. They take Monday
Asian
off.
Restaurants always take Monday off.
Yeah, some restaurants will take Monday and Tuesday off.
So look, Ted, we already knew that this kind of schedule. This is so obvious. Like, you don't need to spend millions of dollars to do this study. All you have to do is look at nursing schedules. Look at nurses. Nurses or firemen will work like 4/10s or 3/16s or something like that, right? And then they have all these days off. And everyone is more productive, happier, unburnt out. Like, this is why that works for the nursing schedule. Is they do like a lot of the nurses I know they choose the four day, 10 hours a day schedule. And some do more intensive, like short cram, like 3 days and like 15 or 16 hours. But the fact that they have the ability to do that keeps the nurses happy, and they're able to have lives and be with their families and do things that they love and continue to love their career.
And while they're at work, they're working more efficiently. And
correct.
Look, honestly, another way to look at this is when I became a father, or I knew I was going to become a father, I was very concerned because I work a lot. I do 3 cartoons a week. At the time, I was doing 5.
You're writing articles and books.
A ton of crap. So I was like, how am I going to do all that and take care of a little baby? And I had a friend who had just had a kid, who was also a writer, syndicated columnist. She'd had a kid like, a year or two earlier. And she said, here's what happens, Ted, is that like, if you think that you can take 3 hours to write a column, but if you only have an hour to write a column, you'll write it in an hour. Yeah. And that sounds really stupid, but it's true. And you'll race through it. If you think about like, you pace yourself in an office, but let's just say you're a Monday through Friday office worker. And by the way, this doesn't apply to certain kinds of jobs, but like for a typical office job, let's say you're there Monday through Friday. I can tell you this personally. I had a job that was Wednesday through Friday, and I had to commute into town to do it.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay.
Yeah. So I take the morning train on Wednesday, come in, and then leave Friday afternoon. And I left early on Friday afternoon to take the express train home. So I left at 3:30. So I was there. So yes, of course I would answer emails and stuff like on Monday or Tuesday, or on the weekend, because I was an executive. So I thought that was the right thing to do. But the truth is, I would like get in there Wednesday. I'm going hard, gangbusters, all day long to get everything done. I could get everything done that everyone else would do in 5 days and 3 days, because I'm not spending as much time like
bullshitting,
jerking off in the men's room and like and
taking the 30-minute morning poops and
hanging out with my
reading your phone on
going out to Starbucks or whatever. Oh, gotta go for a smoke, even though I don't smoke. So like those things, right? And so this, I see how this works. I mean, obviously you could only compress so far. You're not going to get 40
you couple that with the bullshit meetings.
But you
the
can
meetings
compress.
That could have been, how many people can say after like a bullshit hour and a half long meeting where people are bloviating, are bloviating about whatever, really could have been done in an email or a voicemail sent to the team. There are
a lot of tech companies that are like, their meetings are banned. Like in startups, no meetings.
It's an energy sapper. If you want to make people annoyed and feel like what a waste of time, I could have been doing XYZ to get my file done or done this data thing or whatever. The hour-long meetings will do it. And if you want to talk about job satisfaction and efficiency, which we're being very inefficient right now.
I was going to say, speaking of which, we'd better go. Because this is the problem. We seriously have to bang out an hour, and I have to go get my stitches pulled out. So.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So.
Well, let's do this, Ted. What if we do half hour here and then half hour until we fulfill our Rumble premium requirements.
Well, let's do 45 minutes. Let's do 45. But let's bail here.
So
we need a topic for Rumble.
We need a topic.
What do you want to do?
What do you guys suggest? And I this is a Rumble question because it's a Rumble premium
I'm gonna see if there's any
episode.
breaking news. It's always good to do a breaking news thing for the Rumble premium. I've noticed because we will.
Really?
We'll put the shorts up, and they'll do well. You know. So let's see. What we got.
Interesting. Well,
yeah, man, Thailand is now
it's getting
the
hot.
number 2 story.
Number 2 story, little old Thailand and Cambodia.
Yeah, fucking insane.
Maybe we can do that. I mean, the history of the two countries.
Let's see. We're certainly not going to do 45 minutes on Chuck Mangione. That's for sure.
No. The weird celebrity deaths. What do you guys over in Rumble think we should do for a Rumble premium? That we're gonna
on YouTube. Well,
we'll take suggestions from YouTube.
The U.S. I saw this a couple days ago. The U.S. drops to the lowest ranking ever on the index of the world's most powerful passports. But I don't know if that's
really.
Yeah, no. Powerful passports means it's a passport that you can use to go to a lot of countries and go to a lot of countries visa free. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well,
let's see. There's Epstein. There's the killing. There's the Idaho killer.
We could do the murdery Ohioans.
We could do murdery Ohioans.
I had lots
to talk about there.
There's been so I just realized from
Let's do murdery Ohioans. Let's do murdery Ohioans. Done.
Not only murdery, like you guys have like apparently a lot of like serial killers come from Ohio. I just learned from Ted. And Ted, if you remember the heist of like the payphone fraudster that would take the money out of all the payphones for decades. He's from Ohio.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you knew that.
Oh yeah. No, we have a lot. We have a lot. I'm very proud of our criminal, my home state's criminality. We're all, that's how we are.
Huh. Okay. All right. So maybe we'll do something fun like that. Couple fun topics.
No, we're doing that. We're doing Ohio. Oh, the murderous Ohioans. All right, Manila.
All right. That does it for us on the live show. We'll Ted and I will be posting a weird Rumble premium. A weird premium episode.
Right. What time am I coming on? Can you eat fast? See you at 11:45.
I got a little one. I got to feed. I need.
Can he eat fast? Okay. 11:50.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. We'll be back. Let's try to make Thursday the new Friday.
All right. See you back at 11:50. Okay. Bye.
Adios, amigos.
Ciao.
Have a great weekend, even though it's still just 2 days. Because capitalism.
Yeah. That's right.
Bye.
Worst system.